Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Okay, so today I have Heather here with me. She is the co-founder of Boxers, Mutts, and Wiggle Butts Rescue, a dog rescue based in Southern California. And I am very proud to say is one of the partners of Best Life, or a Best Life partner, a Stripe supporter, I like to call him. And I have to tell you guys this, as you can tell by looking at her, she's total badass. I mean, just one of the first rescues that has joined Best Life one-for-one donation program. We'll get into that later. And I've just really gotten to know, you, Heather, know her, and quickly begin to understand why there's this incredibly loyal following for her rather small family-run rescue. And what's even better about that, because of her transparency with everything, I've gotten to learn more about behind the scenes, like so to speak, of running a rescue, starting a rescue. And so we'll just kind of go over revealing some things today that people might not know are involved with rescue and starting one, and some of the kind of crazy things that can happen. But first, let's kind of start with the beginning. How did you learn about or get into or want to just dog rescue in general?
Well, it actually started with my personal dog. My husband and I received a text message. This was, 12 years ago, 11 years ago. And our pit, Queensland, had just died. And so he was on death row at a shelter in Lompoc, and we went and picked him up and we're like, oh, we'll take him. We didn't have any pit bull stigmas, and our other one looked more of a mix, so it wasn't ever really an issue. People didn't think pit bull. So when we picked him up, we took him home, and then it just kind of started from there. We realized the stigma, we realized everything that came with it. Our friends had to watch him for a little while because our landlord was like, yes, go ahead and get a dog, and then saw him and was like, no, definitely not.
So have you always adopted dogs, rescue dogs?
Yes, even my family growing up, we've taken other people's dogs, when they can't have pound dogs. I don't even think we knew what breeding was. It's always been shelter.
And so you said your pit Queenland had passed away, and so you guys found a new one and started learning about the stigmas. And is that kind of when we started getting into actively, dog rescuing
well, actively, I would say when we moved to Bakersfield, we boarded our dog at a facility in Kingsburg, and he fell in love with this boxer bulldog mix. And so when we picked him up, we took her home too. It was heart rescue. She boarded our dog for us while we looked for a house in Bakersfield, and then we just a 2-for-1. We took her home, and then she was very not well mannered. She was returned twice. She had some aggression issues that we nipped in the butt, but I didn't know anything about walking dogs, or we had harnesses. Our dog never pulled, so we were like, oh, this is fine, he's great. But she was the complete opposite. So we got into training, and it happened to be with a rescue group, and then I started volunteering, and then volunteering with different rescue groups, and then just kind of seeing what I liked and didn't like, and then we ended up forming our own.
That's awesome. That's great. And when did you start Boxers, Mutts, and Wiggle Butts?
June of 2017. So 3 years ago, 3.5.
And what made you say, I want to start a dog rescue?
Well, I was doing a lot of the work. And so my rescue partner and I were just kind of like, we need to do this on our own. There's things that we didn't like that were going on behind scenes that people don't realize go on. And we didn't want to be associated with that kind of stuff. So we were just like, you know what? We want a no-kill, focus on training, never leave a dog behind kind of rescue. So that's what we have. We've had a dog since the day we started. Found him a week after we opened, and we still have him, and we'll have him until his home is found.
Wow, I remember you telling me about him. Yeah, we'll get to him. And I mean, the name of the rescue is what really kind of caught my eye, Boxers, Mutts, and Wiggle Butts. Yeah, that's just literally the best thing a dog can do. See you.
Yes.
Just that whole wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And so what's the story behind the name? Where did you come up with that?
Well, I had a boxer. My rescue partner had a boxer. We wanted to rescue all breeds, so we threw in the Mutts and then Wiggle Butts because, not there's a lot of pit bull rescues, but a lot of people don't want to either want to donate to a pit bull only rescue or not. So we try to do it so that we can still save all the dogs, but pitties tend to wiggle their butts so much, they just shake and shake and shake. I mean, so do boxers, but and so many other dogs. We just kind of wanted to incorporate everybody.
So it's all like you're sliding under the radar and getting the best of both worlds.
Yes.
That's perfect. That's awesome.
Yes. And we've had a hard time. We've had a hard time with pit bulls for some reason. It's just people either go support an all pit bull rescue or not. So even though we want to save them, since we're not all pit bull, it's hard to get everyone's support, I guess.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting how even though the dog rescue world, we'll call it the world, the community, we're all in it together. We're all going for the same goal, but there's this division almost.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that's almost formed without being known that it's being formed. I don't think it was ever intentional or anything.
No, yeah.
But it's really cool how you guys are using the name to, like you said, incorporate there's still wiggle butts, and so pit bull advocates can say, oh, yeah. I want to help. And
yes.
So do you think that because breed selective legislation, BSL, against pit bull type dogs is starting to dwindle a little bit, little by little, do you believe that maybe in the future, whenever it's, big fingers crossed,
yes.
Goal achieved, it's gone, I think maybe that division of having, like you said, some people really like to support only pit bulls or non-pit bulls, do you think that'll almost kind of disappear?
I think everyone loves certain dogs, so they're gonna gravitate to whatever that rescues more of. So I don't think it's a negative thing. I just think maybe by broadening our horizons with all breeds, we lessened our ability to grow as a rescue, because they're like, oh, well, you rescued this month and this next month, we like this breed. So it's kind of, maybe we kicked ourselves in the butt there, but
I don't know, you're doing it like I said, I mean, it's you're one of our a smaller rescue. And you've mentioned before, and other times that we've spoken and just kind of chatted, that you're really not worried too much about growing. You kind of almost want to keep it a nice small family size. Tell me more about the kind of desire and thought process behind that.
I don't want to get too big for my britches, I guess. I'm I know, I'm very hands-on and I have a hard time letting go, and I don't want to grow and become too big and then lose, because not everyone wants to do rescue forever. So I try and take on only what I can handle. That way, if someone's done, I can still handle it. Or if a foster needs a break, I can take the dog and handle it. Because what's going to happen if 5 people need a break at once, and then I have all the dogs at my house? So I try and keep whatever I can handle. And people either love us, or I wouldn't say hate us, but we're pretty strict, and I probably hold on to dogs longer than necessary. But I like to make sure that they're ready, because if they come back, it's gonna affect them. It's gonna, long term, we just want them to be in their homes forever. And then if I have dogs coming back, they're coming back to me. So I want to make sure that they're in it for life.
In it for life, and the long haul, no returns. Yeah. And I remember you mentioning before, your return rate is almost none.
We've had one so far.
Okay, yeah, that's very low for being in, going for about 3 years now. And I know a lot of people have mentioned to me, when starting a rescue, or they want to start a rescue, they want to look into it. What is the process like? tell me about kind of just briefly where it started, like getting the nonprofit, because I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, where to even begin, so that almost kind of
There's a lot of
discourages them.
paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, look into that, because I'm not good at paperwork. I have someone, like, I call her our nonprofit ninja. She's amazing. She's helped out with everything. I just call her up like whenever I need anything. We started with LegalZoom because that's what so many rescues in the area did. And then we contacted her and she's like, no, 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 no. So she got our money back from LegalZoom and did it all ourselves, because I guess LegalZoom has had some issues starting nonprofits and not doing it properly. You have to do a lot and register with the state and federal and everything. It's a lot of paperwork. So get someone who knows their stuff.
Okay. And is she do they have a specific title that people could search for, they have, not lawyer, but
Like
nonprofit expert
lawyer.
In my area.
Like a nonprofit lawyer, I believe is what, yeah. She's retired, so she only helps out, like, I want to say 10 people, and we're lucky enough to be on that list.
Meant to be.
I know. I don't know what I'd do without her.
And so would the paperwork and thing, essentially, what are the 3 most difficult aspects of, we'll say, starting a rescue that you just really didn't expect to kind of come with the job?
I'd say social media. I'm really bad at it. I like being on camera. You'll check our page. I'm rarely ever on camera, which I'm gonna get better at, because I know people want to be able to connect, but 3 years and I'm still never on it. So
it is
social
tough.
media,
It's difficult to get on that board and just be okay with it.
You do great though. I can't get used to it.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's easier. You're doing great now. Yeah, it's easier when you're talking to somebody. It's a conversation, and
Yes.
it feels more natural, and it's definitely very strange to be looking at your phone and talking. Yeah, I try to sometimes put Mr. Breakfast like behind the phone, act like I'm talking to him.
That's what I should do from now on. Someone told me to just like share the screen with a dog so that we're talking together, so it's not just my face. I'm like, I might have to do that.
Yeah, like it helps. I definitely do that with Mr. Breakfast and Buddha a lot. It is interesting how much more comforting that is, because it takes away that I think a lot of us have, unfortunately, this fear of looking like an influence, not looking like an influencer, like that's bad, but like some people kind of make fun. So it's not in a bad way. It's like almost like an insecurity, like not wanting to be seen, a certain way. But so it definitely helps having, the dog with you. But all I have to say is you're doing amazing work, and you're doing something that very, very, very few people not only will do, but can do, and continue to do it as loyal and as dedicated as you are. And I think that's just why it's just like so cool to watch, like everything you go through. And if you're not, for our listeners or viewers right now, if you're not following Boxers, Mutts, and Wiggle Butts Dog Rescue, I highly recommend it. She posts a lot of good tips. She refers you to a lot of, dog behavioral pages that have taught me a lot. It's a really good time, and just a very nice way of transparency into dog rescue that we really, unfortunately, don't see. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So in terms of, running it and starting it, all of that, what are the 3 easiest aspects that you just like, I didn't think this was going to be like, how is this that easy? Just kind of your 3 favorite things or easiest things.
The support, like, even though we're small, like the support we get not only from our families and friends, but adopters, like they are with us. Like a lot of people, I always sound like, hey, you're kind of stuck with us for life. So like, if you're not okay with that, then, like this isn't going to work. Not like that though. I don't threaten them, but
get out of here.
Yeah, we get so much feedback. Like, you guys are awesome. You care about the dogs. Like, or we get like I have to wait 2 weeks for a dog. I'll go somewhere else. So it's like, bittersweet. But the people that support us and know it's for the dogs, they don't go anywhere. They stick with us. They spread the word. Um, it's awesome. Like that's probably the easiest thing. Like is easiest and hardest. Like support, and then people
Yeah.
are kind of dealing with people in the negative sense. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, you know, I think that's what really just kind of drew me to you guys when I started getting to know you and watching. And in terms of our one-for-one donation program, being a rescue partner, and even though Boxers, Mutts, and Wiggle Butts are, I think, the second like smallest following, you know, of our rescue partners, you guys actually have the most donations every month for the last 3 or 4 months. I think we've only been, you know, doing the one-for-one donation program for 5 or 6 months now. And it's incredible. It's really cool to just see, you know, the smaller rescue that, you know, a lot of the times people think like, oh, they might not get as many, but man, I mean, your people are just hard and it's incredible. It's really cool. So whatever you're doing in terms of the support and you're doing it right. And I definitely think it's something that anyone considering starting a rescue, or even if they're running a rescue right now, can definitely take some sort of notes from that, because it is
It's
like
building
just
relationships. You're not
yeah,
just
yeah.
finding dogs homes, you're building relationships with every single family. I don't know if that gets lost sometimes. I see it a lot with other rescues. Like we've got a tight knit group of rescues um that we support and we're in communication with. And I think we all have that. So it's kind of nice. And there are, you know, I feel like it's a big part, and some people don't have it and their dogs, you know, are great too. But I love that part of it. I love being able to text them, or people text me like, hey, my dog got stung by a bee. I think he ate it. And I'm like, send me a picture. Like, we'll get through this together. And, you know, 6 months after they've adopted, they call me instead of like the vet for like, should I take him to the vet? I'm like, well, did you find the stinger?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it is something, support that's lost after adoption, and it's such a big deal because as dog rescue, you know, it becomes more popular and becomes more becomes more well known and popular. I think that more people are going to start running into potential difficulties, you know, whether it's behavioral or, you know, injuries and incidences. And it feels really good knowing that there's someone there for you. And I think that if, you know, that might be one of those things that we can go down a rabbit hole for this. I'll try to avoid it. If there is that support there for pet owners in general, we might even see a decrease of surrendering. Yeah, and yeah, and I think a lot of shelters are kind of starting to take on more active roles in a sort of prevention program to help people, you know, with behavioral advice and medical advice, or at least, you know, support and things like that. And it's really incredible what just the right amount of support, or even a little bit of support, can go such a long way, especially with something that is difficult, you know, as dog rescue. And so if somebody is like, let's say I looked at you and I said, hey, I am thinking about starting a rescue, you know, I want to make it small, I want to start out small. What is the one piece of advice that you would want to tell me that is just like, please always remember this?
Well, if you're going to start, I'd say volunteer first. Like, figure out what you want, and then just remember to stay humble, and it's about the dogs and nothing else. Like, literally nothing else matters. So just stay humble and volunteer with other places first, because then you'll know what you yourself want to do and what you don't want to do. You'll know how one works and how, if you can actually manage that. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Definitely. I only ever volunteered, you know, I've never tried to start a rescue, but just volunteering, and, you know, and especially I feel, I see your yard and I see your, like, I don't know if that's your actual back, I see the kennels that you have built, and just, I think the dedication that shows, you know, to take your personal home, your personal yard, and say, this is dedicated to saving dogs. That's incredible. It's very cool. And it's not something that you see often. I mean, they have kennels and everything, but to take your own yard and put it back there, it's really
What's
cool. It's just,
What's funny about that is we have 2 kennels when we moved in. The boxer we adopted, and they told us that she jumped the fence, so they returned her, and that gosh, I think she jumped her first adopter's fence too. So we're like, you know what? We're gonna get kennels that way, like she can be outside, she won't leave. She never once jumped the fence. Like we didn't have to use it ever. I mean, one time she peeked over and she got pretty close, and then she's like, "Oh, but I like it here, so I'm gonna stay."
yeah.
And then it just worked out.
Not all the time. There's sometimes it's like, why is the dog leaving? Yeah,
she loved us.
Yeah. She's looking for you.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know you said before with your name and the goal that you have, you want to rescue all dogs. You're not breed specific or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but like some times you mentioned before that you do have a little bit of a soft spot or a specialty, and I love the names that you gave, the kind of out of endearment, medical oddities and misfits. And I really like the term misfits because it's just there's no other kind of word for the ones that are just kind of out there and not the usual things. And I remember you sent me a list of the type of just kind of let me know, like when I asked, like, you've seen these kind of things, it's kind of the stuff that you've seen, and just the 3 years about that you guys have been going. And I read some of those things, and as a licensed veterinary technician, formally educated, worked in emergency and critical care and internal medicine for 10 years, I haven't even seen some of those things. And so I just want to know more about those, because I mean, I had to even have the vets kind of like, what is going on here with some of those things. So if it's how do you find these medical oddities or misfits? Do they just somehow come across you? Yeah, they find you.
They find us. They find us. A lot of the time when we pull dogs from the shelter, their medical notes aren't notated. So we can think we're going in there and getting a dog that just needs to be rescued, and then this is what they have.
I think one was like a mole in the eye or something, or like hair or something.
She had a mole on her eye with hair growing out of it.
Like her actual eyeball.
Yes. Like I had to take her down to VCLA, and they're like, just give her eye drops. If it starts to bother her, then we'll remove it. But it's flat enough, and the hair's like, I don't even know it. But she's fine. She's living it up.
Oh, it's like one little eyelash. Yeah. And so would that be, what is the weirdest sort of condition, or just what's the weirdest condition that you've seen so far?
That's probably the weirdest thing. It doesn't seem weird, but it's weird. Like
I can only imagine to see it, it's
yeah, I was like, what is that on her eye? But yeah, I mean, that's probably like the most random, like odd thing that just you don't ever expect.
Did the vet seem surprised to see it?
He was just like, huh, like that's odd. Like if we need to remove it, we will, but she's good right now. And I'm like, okay. Easy peasy.
And what was I know you've had some pretty rare conditions, things that are not normally seen, so a lot of people don't even know what they are. So what would be the rarest kind of not normally seen condition?
That would probably be our forever foster dog Cutie. She has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. That's the human name for it. It's called cutaneous asthenia for dogs. So we originally thought maybe she had some Shar-Pei in her, because her skin, like you could stretch it off her body. So that's part of the condition, is like elasticity in the skin. Her joints like just pop in and out. If she bumps anything, like her skin just tears. So she's got like to live in a little bubble. It's It's crazy. She only had one ear, not that it was chopped off or anything, because it looked like it was cropped. She was just born with it. Um, but
One
it's
ear?
like so
Like
one
one
ear
ear
was
flap.
yeah, one ear was floppy and one ear looked like someone had cropped it. But it was
Huh.
like natural. There was no like it was just like a little just like that.
And so the
um
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or essentially what it is for what I remember, textbook like stuff coming out here. Uh, yeah, like I said, it doesn't have not the cartilage, but
um I know what I know what you're trying to say.
hold on,
She
we can edit this part.
we actually put her on gosh, not colostrum. What is it? For the elasticity. I'm drawing a blank. I want to say uh we got it at the vet recommended
Connective
it.
tissue.
So vitamin C to help, and then what was the other one? Was it colostrum? No, something for the elasticity. I can't believe I'm having a brain fart.
And we can always,
um
I'll just like redo this part.
uh but
Yeah, it
she's
just
doing
essentially it makes it to where everything is bendy and it makes it like overly flexible.
hmm
What causes the gene mutation?
yeah.
Um, I'll put
And the people that gave her up, um she kept injuring herself. They just had her in the backyard. So the fosters that are keeping her forever, they took her and they're like, hey, there's this dog. We'll foster her. And I said, okay. And then they fell in love with her and her condition. But it's about like $6,000 a year for like medical and like, so she's a forever foster.
wow.
Um, just to help out and make things easy. They didn't they didn't ask for a dog like that, even though they love her
Yeah, yeah.
dearly. Um,
Oh,
it's hard, but she's adorable in all her wrinkles.
yeah. Try to look up how to like explain it so that way we can edit it and be like, oh, and so Alexander says this, and this, and they're all just kind of like not really. It looks like there's not really a lot known about it.
There's
Um,
not Our vet had only seen one case in like the 10 years. And we were going to a different vet at this time. I'm all like behind me. uh, but they had only seen one. They were not familiar with it.
oh,
But luckily that vet that knew about it was in the office and was like, hey, I've seen this before. This is what we can
oh.
do.
Wow. Okay. So essentially, we'll try again to do like a little explanation. So for those
Okay.
listening, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a congenital inherited, gene mutation that causes too much elasticity essentially in the skin and the joints, and it makes it so the skin lifts very easily and the joints are able to flex overflex. There's a hyperflexation and bruise very easily. And as Heather was saying, the veterinarian had only seen it once in 10 years. So it's an
Mm-hmm.
extremely rare condition. Does it cause any physical signs? How did you guys kind of come up or suspect that something was going on?
She kept getting injured, like bumping into anything, like nails from another dog in the house, if they would play, would just tear her. So they don't play, they've kind of like taught the dogs to not like they can hang out together and they're totally fine with that. But her skin is like Gumby. Like you can just pull it and it's yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, it's just like that. It's like Gumby skin. Like it
Yeah.
just stretches like crazy. It's
Oh.
the and I wouldn't say like the oddest. It's like I don't think I'll ever see it again.
I mean, like I said, I worked, the only time I'd ever heard of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is in textbooks. And we even were taught in school, unless you work at a specialty internal medicine or, congenital, like, rare disease doctor, you probably won't see
Mhm.
it. So it's pretty incredible that within this short time you have been dog
Everything.
rescuing. I think it's almost like your purpose, your gift to
It
get
is
these guys and
definitely.
know how to handle it. Or maybe you just have the mindset of,
Yeah,
okay, something weird is going on. Let's figure
we
it
practice.
out. Yeah. And kind of another sort of specialty that I've seen you take on, other than the medical oddities and things like that, is behavioral modification and sort of almost education for it, but also not only education, it's example. And it's been really cool to watch you not only develop, the dogs develop, but you develop, and you learn more and you
Yes.
kind of get better. And not only do you learn it more, but you're passing it on. And I think it was Cassie or Peaches, the video that you posted where you would take a step and she'd be right behind you. You would take a step,
Oh
she'd be right.
yes, Peach. Yes.
Peach, yes. And you kind of said, you're like, this is not cute. And it's not like you just said, you didn't just stop there. You didn't say, this is not cute. You said, here's why. And it's really cool that you remember to do that, because some people can
Mhm.
not know. And a lot of times when people don't
Yeah.
know, they could, get upset or think that you're wrong. But so it's just the transparency of everything is really cool, and the education aspect. So do you feel because people a lot of, don't know what's wrong or what's good, do you feel like the mental health of dogs is in like the rescue world, or just at all, is overlooked a little bit?
Um, I don't think us rescuers overlook it.
Yeah, no.
It's not something people can see. So people don't donate towards it because it's not a physical, like there's no cut, there's no wound. Um, they see a cute dog, they don't see all the I wish I could show more, but my kids are usually making a lot of noise or I forget my phone. So, um, I wish I could show more of like the bad stuff that is why they have these issues. But I feel like what I do show when I do remember does show this is what mentally is going on with them. Um, and I have an awesome trainer with Jason and Brooke and Canine Mindset. I took one of our dogs to Primal Canine, and Humble Canine in San Diego is hopefully, if we can raise the money, we'll work with them too. So trainers are key. Like they're honest, they'll tell you, and I love the bluntness of it. So then everything I soak in, I try and put out there like, hey, this is what I learned this week. This is what you're gonna see. Like implement it like if you can. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying, hey, what should I do? And the first thing I do is say, hire a trainer. Like that is the best thing you can do is hire a trainer. um, it's it's awesome. Like I love learning. I've been learning from trainers for 8 years, and I'm like things change. So like slip leashes were never a thing 8 years ago. Prongs and like the chain ones and martingales were huge. So everything is always progressing. There's always more. So that's what I love about it. And then I just want to share with everyone, like if you can keep your dog, do it.
Yeah, yeah. And do you, in terms of, because as you know, I'm sure everybody in rescue world knows, but those that are listening might not. I think I read a statistic that 46% of dogs that end up in shelters were surrendered because of behavioral issues. And a lot of the times it could even be things that are easily fixed, that
Mhm.
wouldn't even take that much time and dedication and the money, that would go
Yes.
towards it. But in terms of the progression that you've seen over the last 8 years of learning dog training and being, active with the rescue world and helping dogs and just learning in general, do you think it's been progressing because we're learning more, or do you think it's progressing in terms of just kind of exploring different styles and techniques?
Maybe the styles and techniques. I've seen a lot of different ones, and I don't like pick and choose, but every dog is different. So what I see like online from all these different trainers that I follow on Instagram and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I haven't tried that before. And one thing can work for 5 dogs, and then you can try 20 things and finally find the one that works for the one dog. So it's like there's sometimes there's not just one way to do it, but I'm learning that
That's all that matters.
like I know. So I'm learning, and the dogs are just gonna do better. And we didn't, I shouldn't say we didn't take in a lot of behavioral cases. We just we dog test normally every dog. They come to my house, and then for like 2 weeks to quarantine. And then I would find a foster that could handle that specific dog. Because not every foster can, do aggression or do large dogs or do fearful dogs. Or so I just kind of hold them, get to know them, and see what home they would do best in. And then once our fosters were kind of veterans, I started sending them straight to their house. And that's where I'm going to start bringing them back to my house, because I have done that much training, but not necessarily like the fosters have, so I'm trying to include the fosters now into all of the training that I do so that they can be successful too.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's very important is keeping the fosters, your team, like you said, your team, your family,
Yeah.
and you're working together. And I know fostering is already a difficult thing because you have a new dog in the house quite often. And, you're that bridge between wherever they came from, whatever they experienced to the best life. And you're building that bridge for them essentially. And so I think having that support for fosters, and especially being understanding that
Mhm.
they are foster, they are volunteering, they do need help in that support. So I think that's just really hitting home. Like it's great. You hear a lot about. Unfortunately, I fostered before, and I didn't have that. They had me foster a dog that they said would match, and ended up just
Wasn't.
really causing some issues. And when I needed their help, unfortunately, I felt like I was kind of alone. So the fact that you're always taking your fosters in consideration is really great. And I almost think that would be something for someone starting a rescue to always keep in mind. Your
Yes.
fosters, like, take care
Yeah. And
of
it's
them.
okay. Like my trainer has really showed me, just because we took in a lot when COVID hit, and some of them just happen to be mentally, like separation anxiety is hard for everyone to deal with, like that whining. So we have a few of those, and they've come to my house because I'm like, I don't want to lose fosters. And then if they're sitting there hitting their head against a wall, like I hit my head against the wall with the whining. So so it's that's definitely the one thing that we like the training has helped me with, is the like undoing separation anxiety in dogs. It's huge, and so many rescuers called it when COVID hit. Like everyone's going to be home with their dogs, and then they're going to go and leave, and their dogs are going to destroy everything.
Yeah. I mean, I know we still do the kennel time, and kind of
That's
make sure that we leave
exactly.
the house, and keep them with that routine almost. We're bad some days, and just leave it, it's fine. I'm guilty. But yeah, we've talked about before, it's the balance of it.
Yes.
And it's difficult because I feel like there's a lot of resources of education out there, but there the important aspect of that, of behavior, of keeping a mental health. And I know there's one trainer that you post a lot of things where she says, like, people, unfortunately, social media, they see a panting dog and they think, oh, he's happy, and then they see a calm dog and they think, oh, he's sad. So it's kind of interesting
Yeah.
how to see the different aspects, because I run my dog's account and I've definitely gotten those sort of questions and comments. So
Yes.
it's very different to see the different worlds and just education of what people know. Unfortunately, people just don't know. So I think it's really important that there are more and more accounts out there like yours and like the trainers that are not only just saying don't do this, they're saying why and why it's important. And I think
And
that's
what
just
to
kind
do
of
to fix
become
it.
exactly, yeah, a
Yeah.
nice evolution in the world of dog training or dog behavior education. So it's kind of really cool to have seen you like progress with that and learn more myself. And it's not easy, as you know, behavioral modification. What is probably the biggest challenge with it, though?
With training, or
Yes. Yeah, just
um
behavior, like, helping dogs out and get to a proper mental state.
I struggle when I don't see progress. I don't want instant gratification. I know everyone wants it now, but I can do the slow pace, but there's some things that I can't do. So like I'm not there. I haven't done it before. Like I could probably do it if I only had one dog, but having all of the dogs, this is where like donations for training would really come in handy for say like our dog Suki, who's always been, extremely dog reactive. I've muzzle trained her. We were working with her, but there are certain things that I'm not set up for to do because I'm not a dog trainer. So even though like my dog trainer yesterday said like, hey, if you ever want to stop rescue, you can have a future in this. I'm like, oh, thank you, but maybe just give me a discount on these dogs. But it's just sending them places. Like I just have to realize like I'm not seeing progress. Like that's fine. Like little things like, hey, she didn't growl today, or hey, this dog took a step today. Like celebrate the little things. Like everyone wants instant like gratification, and I just have to remember celebrate the little things and reach out for help. Like when you can't do it, asking for help is extremely important.
And I think in any aspects of life, especially dog owner and definitely dog rescue. So I think that's a very good thing to be able to have, is to be able to kind of not have your pride overtake wanting to ask for help,
Yes.
because that's hard. Sometimes you want to be good at something, or you want to be the expert or things, but it's definitely it's interesting how some people are really good at training aggressive dogs, and some people just can't do it. And
Yes.
that's okay. But
Yes,
it's kind of
exactly.
it's almost like the person's energy, or how they do something about it. So it's kind of cool to see that connection. And like you said before, not every single trainer is
Mhm.
going to be for one dog. And I've seen cases where a dog needs 3 different trainers because the 3 of them kind of knew how to work with different aspects of it.
That's awesome.
But it's
Trainers
definitely
working
great.
together is awesome.
Yeah, I know. We all just need to like keep working together, keep coming together. It's
Yes.
a really good thing. And so, as someone who has been in rescue for 12 years, but having running rescue for 3 years, quite a long. Either way, got a good little stretch going. Do you think it's important for people to know what dogs are rescue dogs?
Yes. So, I mean, of course, I want people to know dogs are rescue dogs. Go out and rescue a dog. Um, yeah, I love it. They ask like, "Oh, how did you get it?" It sparks so much conversation, and then you have like this little group of people that are gushing over their dogs and the stories behind them and sharing pictures. It's like, yes, this is my dog.
Yeah.
Rescue and the rescues. I mean, I want everyone to know about rescue dogs. They're not just like dogs thrown to the side or trash. Like you can get so many dogs from the shelter, a rescue, like people surrender purebred dogs to shelters and rescues because they didn't know what they got into. They saw a cute dog and it wasn't fit for their lifestyle, so then they surrender it. You can get everything as a rescue, so it's not just the oddities.
Yeah. The medical misfits and oddities, they're
Yes.
fun, but they're cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's we're trying to, hopefully there'll be this transition from people kind of viewing rescue dogs, or because I saw a comment and I've seen them a lot, but one particular the other day on just some random page, and someone said, "That's not a rescue dog. That's like a purebred, well-fed dog." And it was like, I can still be a rescue. So it's kind
Yeah.
of interesting how there's still, unfortunately, that misconception, about them. And in terms of, the 2 white stripes that we have going for Best Life, what do you think that will do for the world of dog rescue?
Well, I want to see more of them out there. I love seeing them. Like, can you just imagine if you're just walking, you see like 5 people with like a collar and leash on, you're like, I see you over there. I got you. um, I think it's awesome. It's an awesome start. Like, let's get these dogs out of the shelters, out of rescues, like just support one another and stop this mass euthanasia of so many dogs daily. um it'll just, the more people know that rescue dogs can be every kind of dog, the more they'll, "Oh, okay, like I can get that." Like, you type it up and I'm sure there's a rescue for it.
Yes, yeah, there's purebred rescues, specific rescues, wiggle butt rescues.
Yeah.
And tell me, if I were another person running a rescue and I looked at you and said, hey, what's with this Best Life one-for-one donation program? What's with the partnership? What would you say to them?
Well, I think I got Pet Matchmaker on board. I was going over there and she saw the leashes. We were doing some PEMF treatment for one of our dogs with her pulsing machine. And I'm like, hey, like, you've got dogs of all sizes. Check this out, one for one. You've got a big following. Like, we don't, and we're getting a lot. And I send a leash with like every adopter now, or either a collar or a leash. I don't do both because I still have to buy one. But I try and send at least like one or the other with them. If they're full grown, a collar is easier to send. If they're puppies, I don't send a collar because they'll just grow out of it. But I'm like, hey, she's like, those are really nice. And I know they're really nice. And then martingale, I'm like, you can't go wrong. Like, it's a really good everyday collar.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
awesome.
bam, she's like, okay, I got you.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear. I'm glad that, I mean, it makes me so happy when, yeah, I like see you like open the box and see all of them. Like, for some reason, I'm just like, yay! It gets
I
like
know.
so
Same.
excited. You're like, yay, they got it.
I
So, and every
know.
time that a code comes through, like I literally like still like give a high five if Chad's around or something.
Yeah. You're like, another one, another rescue dog.
Yeah.
I know.
All right.
It's pretty awesome.
That's good. That's really awesome. And so do me one favor. We're all done. One favor and just kind of say, I'm trying to think. Just kind of like tell a general population, like, because what we're trying to do is get like little clips of, you're trying to get more rescues involved to help more rescues.
Hmm.
And so just kind of talk about a little clip of like, you know, um, how it's been being a Best Life partner, how it's been sharing the code, how it's been, just in
Okay.
general, your experience with it all. And if you say like, oh, don't use that part, don't like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of
Okay.
tell us if it's like, if somebody's, what's it like being a Best Life partner?
It's amazing. No, no, not to kiss butt. No. Honestly, it's been easy. Like, you do all the work, and that's what I need. I have a hard time letting go of the reins and having someone just like, hey, here's a picture, put your code in. I'm like, awesome. And I do it instantly because it's easy. I don't have to make anything. Like, even when you first partner up, you have pictures of like our logos together, and then I can just share it. Everything is done for you. All you have to do is share. And that's what I love. I love easy. um and then the product, I mean, it sells itself. So even then, like, look at how beautiful these colors are. And then boom, you're like, oh hey, here's another like video, just put in your code wiggle, and bam. And I'm like, easy, done. Like, you make it easy.
That's great.
I
That's
mean,
awesome. I'm happy to
there,
hear that. And that's what we want. We don't want it to be this hard thing because we know, it's hard, like one, running a rescue. It's a lot of work. And then you have your personal life and then you have everything else going. So to hear that it's going well, it's easy, and we're always open to any ideas. If you say like, hey, I think if you do this for the partner, if you do this for their partners, and so I think that's why we're starting to kind of like collect little things like that of rescue partners saying like, hey, this is, what you have to do, and like a little advice for them or anything like that. So we're hoping to be able to get out there and just kind of help more and get more going, and even promote more. A lot of people like don't even know that small rescues exist. So we're actually going to end up turning our rescue partner list into almost like a database. We're going to separate
oh,
it by state,
cool.
by cities. That way it's like, are you looking to rescue a dog? Because a lot of
Oh,
people
that's
don't know that there's
awesome.
anything but shelters. So hopefully.
That is awesome. See, another reason why, like, you literally do everything, and it just makes life so easy for me. That is
That's
awesome that you're
awesome.
gonna do that.
Yeah, it'll be a while, but we're getting there, little step by steps.
Progress,
All
yes.
right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording here.